Welcome. Hello everyone, anyone. Coming here to you in your space to share little trinkets that come up during my practice or during training. Just been teaching a Yin Yoga training last week. I had many questions popped up and I wanted to pick out one that could be maybe beneficial for you here as well in this space. And that was the question around the fact, one of the students said, I read somewhere that you can only practice Yin Yoga on a cold body. And yes, I remember reading this in many books and articles as well when I started my training, and this question a lot of times come back, like, what do we mean with this cold body or cool body? Especially have to say that I wish every day that I would have a cold or cool body, because currently it is so warm here constantly that the body feels always warm and engaged in a certain way. So for me, I can only share what my understanding and what my findings have been also over the years of practice and teaching how to deal with this. First of all, we have to come back to the quality of cold or cool, and we can only say that something is like that when there's of course the opposites there as well, which is then warm, so to say, or hot. Yes, so we're coming back to yin and yang. And then when we take hot or warm body, this is what we mainly achieve or do when we practice yang yoga, because it's the opposite of yin, which is then cool and cold, so to say. So with Yang Yoga, then when we look into that and we look into the different tissues, because this is where the answer also finds some grounding. When we look into the different tissues we use in Yang Yoga or Yin Yoga, we might find some answers and understanding. I have to sit on a pillow. I feel my body is not okay on this hard floor, so I need some softness. Yes. So in Yang Yoga or any other type of somatic movement, so moving our body, we use the muscles for this movement. There is no other way, because if we want to use this elbow joint and we like to flex it, we have to engage through the muscle, shorten it here so it starts to pull on the other bone and reels that arm in, so working through the elbow joint that then gets into flexion. So this is how muscles work. When we work our muscles, we generate naturally heat in the body. Yes, this is coming to friction. This is coming through the flow of the breath, the flow of the breath, but mainly the circulation of the blood and all these things that have to do with our muscles. Now, this is the opposite way what we do in Yin Yoga. Yes, we go from that stage of Yang, because usually during the day we move and we are engaged in a certain way, to a stage of Yin. If we think about the Yin and Yang symbol, then we first of all see there's no absolute. In the Yin there's some Yang, in the Yang there's some Yin, but also there's a center point. If we would move from one side to the other, we cross this line somewhere. So this is also what we do in our Yin Yoga practice. From this moving stage, say you would go to class and you come out of your day of work and you go to class, then yes, you arrive in the shala, you might lie down for 5 minutes or sit up to really arrive for your practice. This is already cooling your body, because you're less engaged, you're sitting still, the muscles are not at work. So we're cooling the body, and a lot of times I would say we have to go first through the restorative point, which is the center point of taking unnecessary tension out of our body before we can actually move to yin. Because it's an opposite. There is a road to take, and then we find different points there. Slowing down is 1. Taking unnecessary tension out of the body is 2. Coming to more comfortability in this body in stillness is 3. So relaxation is a huge part, not only for this physical body, but also through the mind. So thinking about moving in the nervous system as well, from sympathetic part, which is more yang, to parasympathetic, which is more yin. So also there one needs to travel. So there's many things that come on this road when we go from yang to yin. Now imagine, because we address the connective tissue in yin, the fascia, the myofascia in yin, the ligaments, the tendons, the joints, all these fascial sheets in yin. While we target very different things in yang, where we have an aim on stretching the muscle fibers, stretching the muscle so that muscle fibers start to line up and they have more openness, better blood flow, all these things. Now we have an aim also of stressing in Yin Yoga, but in a very different way. Not in this movement we do in Yang. Movement belongs there for the muscle. In Yin we like to go static or slow and static, coming from this comfortable point with not too much tension in the tissues, for example, and then moving gradually from this comfortable place, which for me really lies in the center, this restorative point, and then bring some uncomfort back in the body, bringing stress back in the body in a positive way, and bring that on the connective tissue by bringing the body in certain shapes from a relaxation point of view to start, in a certain shape where you start to not stretch or push or pull, but be still and more static. So the load, the stress on the tissue can now reach towards the connective tissue. There is this understanding around the fact that if the body is still warm or engaged, it takes longer to come to the center, to this restorative point, to relax. And then from this relaxation, go in a certain comfort into the discomfort again of yin. And the disengagement fully of yin as well. Though we might start to feel all kinds of sensations. This is the way from warm to cool body. If we then would practice yin on this warm body, then you can question yourself if that is yin, or if that is coming towards the center point, towards restorative. Restoring the tissues, resting, relaxing, but in a very comfortable way. This way, or in this is my reasoning behind, and I hope I was not all over the place. I could give it some structure. Sometimes I just like all over the place. We need to relax those muscles before we can reach towards the connective tissue in yin. This is where this restorative point in the center comes in. This is where we move gradually from sympathetic engagement into parasympathetic, and then testing our resilience in yin. Because yin is not fully the parasympathetic. It can be very confronting, it can be very challenging, it can dysregulate the nervous system. It's not always calming and relaxing and nice. In my opinion, it should not be. If we stay in that comfort zone, then we stay in the center, we stay in restorative. Something that everyone that goes to the gym hopefully does as well. They go and pump their muscles, yes, break the fibers, build more bulk, and then they might stretch a little bit afterwards, and then take a sauna or an ice bath or something or relax to restore all this stress that's been put on the muscles. Now, in Yin, we also restore what we stress. This is the rebound. Yes? In between the poses, we take ample enough time to restore from the load and the stress we put on our connective tissue. Now, before I go too much sideways, coming back to cool body, say that we would do Yin right after Yang. Then it takes a long time from this well-blooded tissue to eventually come to restoring and then into Yin. Well, when the body is already more cool or cold, and it shouldn't be like cold like this, shivering cold, but when you come out of bed, when the muscles are not so much engaged yet, when the blood is not really like being circulated before through your whole system, when everything is still a little bit asleep inside, it is easier to target the connective tissue, although it might be less comfortable. Yes, because the water retains itself overnight, and this might also bring up a lot of discomfort and going straight into Yin. So for some people, it is useful to do a little bit of movement before going into the Yin practice. Yes, just some tiny joint movement, just very gentle, organically. So the feeling of being in this body is back. It's not disconnected also from the mind. The nervous system starts to understand all these sensations, and then going into practice. Personally, I would not say, okay, we do 3 or 10 rounds of sun salutation, because there you start to engage the muscles a lot. But doing a very gentle qigong, something very gentle and organic and round, without all these long lines where you really need the muscle engagement for. Why not? Just a little bit to feel comfortable in that maybe stiff body that just comes out of bed, or that stiff body that's been sitting in the chair the whole day in front of the computer, to and then go into your Yin, stressing the tissues. Also think about when the place one is practicing is very cold, then the body might be like tight of the cold weather, the cold environment, whatever it is. Then we might want to make the body more comfortable first. We need to move to this restorative, comfortable point in the center before we can go to Yin. So bringing some comfort, sometimes Ujjayi breathing, or a few rounds of Kapalabhati, fire breath, or a little bit of like warm up, gentle warm up, can be very useful. And then moving into Yin. So I would never say practice on a cold body, especially when all the tissues are doing this. And when the mind is also engaged, like, I'm cold. So that is not the thing. The body should be comfortable in a certain way, but not working, not being much engaged, more comfortable in this restoring, letting go, preparing, restorative points, and then move into Yin. So you can address the myofascia or the connective tissue. And it's so difficult on one hand because there's these 2 different tissues that come together so much in the body. So where are we actually targeting? What are we actually feeling? And if you sense that you're staying in comfort, then maybe you need a little bit longer to target those tissues. Maybe a little bit less props because it's too restorative with a lot of props. But also always being mindful of your edge. These were just some, what's the word for that in English? Just some things that popped up in my mind that maybe are useful for you. And I would love to hear from you how you see it. if I should write an article about this, it would be way more structured and well overthought what exactly to bring up. But this just popped up in my mind, so I hope it's helpful for you. Yes, a warm body is engaged. It's engaged with the blood. It is engaged with the muscles. And this is actually what we don't like to use or emphasize on in our yin practice. So then we have to disengage, coming to this restoring point where we let go of unnecessary tension, calm the nervous system down, all these things, before moving into yin, the complete opposite of yang, where we put then physically stress again on the body. But now, because the muscle is relaxed, the stress can go into the connective tissue. So thinking ligaments, the end of muscles that meets the bone, the tendon. Yes, the pressure in the joints, that can be very helpful. And yeah, also on the different levels of the body in the fascia. Good. Wrapping it up here, and see you back another time. Thank you. Blessings on your path. Keep enjoying your practice.